Tom, and I have got a round 2 model review for you.
Hey everybody, Model Man here, and this is the final installment of the 1350 Original Enterprise Review. Over the last week I've been taking viewer requests from YouTube and several forums about what people wanted to see more of, things I may have missed, and other little errata and data that needed to be filled in. So I've got about 19 different points here on my list. I've got a few paragraphs of notes from Jamie himself about things that he saw in the videos, and basically I'm going to work my way up and down the list, doing the easiest to the hardest, and we'll see how it goes. So first up, a question about retail prices and when and where the kits are going to be available. The fact is, I don't know. Round 2 certainly has an MSRP going on, but that doesn't mean that any given retailer is going to be following that. I expect early on there's going to be a really big range of prices, from the really exceptionally stupid to the moderately priced to maybe even some deals if you really look around by people that want to push the kit out their doors and get the sales going. So really you're going to have to search around and find the best price for yourselves. As to when it's going to be available, I don't know. The current club update says about November, definitely before Christmas for everybody. From the time that the Premier kit ships, it should be about 2 or 3 weeks before the Standard Edition ships. The Premier version is just for the club members who signed up, the 1,701 people who have been part of it all along. The Standard Edition, that'll be 2 to 3 weeks later. When it's going to be available, I don't know specifically. And there's another question about when it's going to be available in the UK or other places around the world. Again, I have no idea how that works out with licensing and such. I don't imagine you're going to find it in your local shops at all, ever. Just like here in America, we can't find certain Japanese or European kits. You're probably going to have to go mail order for those, or even find a buddy here in the States or Canada that will buy one and ship it to you. So next, a little clarification seems to be needed between the Premier Edition and the Standard Edition. The Standard Edition is everything I've shown you that comes in this one box. That's what's going to be released to everybody just before Christmas. The Premier Edition that all the 1701 Club members signed up for gets the Standard Edition kit plus all the plastic in the supplemental parts pack to make the first and second Pilot Series versions of the ship. That's it. Checking my notes, going back to Wonderfest 2011 when this was first announced, that's all that's ever been said to be included in the Premier Edition version. Another minor difference between the Premier Edition is that you're going to get a certificate of authenticity that it is a Premier Edition kit, and the box art itself will be done in a chrome printing. And I'm pretty sure that's the only differences. Whether you're going to get both boxes separately or all of these little parts that are going to be crammed into this box, I don't know that offhand, but that's all you get with the Premier Edition kit. You don't get the lighting kit, you don't get the deluxe accessory set, you don't get registry decals, the weathering decals, or the photo etch. Just those 2 boxes. Well, as shown previously, either way, you got some big saucers going on here. As far as the grid lines go, I gotta say that it looks, for comparison, visually at least, that the Refit grid lines are as big or slightly even bigger than are seen right here on the original. I'd say the grid lines on the Refit have a bit more of a bevel going on, whereas these grid lines are pretty much perpendicular to the surface itself. As to putting a caliper on these, I really don't know that it's going to show all that much of a difference, because it's going to be a hairline and less than a millimeter, half a millimeter, 0.005 millimeter. That's pretty much closed right there. There's just one little tiny quarter of a millimeter. It's tough to say. It's definitely as big as your fingernail. It's not very deep, but I'm sure some people will say it's far too deep to begin with. And over here on these, this outer ring is definitely thicker than any of these. Well, maybe it's as thick. Tough to say. One thing that was pointed out on the forums is that these grid lines go straight across the eyebrows. I hadn't noticed that when I first looked at it. So thanks for pointing that out. Gary Kerr has already responded to that fact and said, yes, the grid lines do in fact go across the eyebrows. So that's the way that is. This is definitely going to be a tough putty job for anybody that wants to do it. And here's one other side comparison. When I first reviewed the saucer, I mentioned that some of the side grid lines seemed to be mismatched with the top hull piece. That was a very hasty look, and aligning from the very center line here, that seems to be not entirely all that bad. There are one or two, like this one is just about the worst, where it's a line's width off. And there's only 2 or 3 of those, I think. Let's take a look here at every single one of them. That one may be slightly mismatched. That one right here. And that looks to be pretty much it. So, it's a very minor situation, and the fact is, this is a 3-footer model in not only the literal sense, but also the hyperbolic sense, because from 3 feet away, you're not going to see that. And with a good solid coat of primer, you're going to even see it less. So, while they may be considered to the perfectionist to be slightly off in some cases, the fact is, that's definitely pretty freaking precision work, actually, considering. So, no real worries on any misalignment on the grids. The point that I brought up when I did the saucer was that there seems to be a very fine, almost pebbly sort of texture. And whether that's going to come out on the camera or not, I couldn't quite tell you. Panels like these right here definitely have it, whereas this one it's almost polished away in some cases. Here's what Jamie has to say about that. Unfortunately, the grid lines might have turned out to be a double negative for hardcore modelers. A, they are present when it seems some modelers don't want them, and B, having them means that the tool was not able to be properly polished, thus resulting in more work for our core group of modelers to address the surface. Ultimately, I stand by the decision to keep them, as most modelers would not have had much luck drawing them on. It was all part of the effort to make the kit buildable by modelers of any skill level. I know the die-hard modelers like those on Hobby Talk will always put more work in their model regardless of what we put in the box. I have to give consideration to the average Joe Star Trek fan. Star Trek has a larger population than sci-fi modelers. For every amazing build-up on display at a show like Wonderfest, there are thousands of models that get built that just get put on a guy's shelf. They might not win any awards, but the person that built it takes no less pride in his work. It's my job to give everyone as much as I can to make their model look as great as possible.